When you start any kind of diet, it's very easy to see results. All diets work and all diets fail. Will you understand this by the end of the video? You start off very motivated, and the initial progress encourages you even more. But as time goes by, those results start to disappear until you hit a plateau, the dreaded stagnation. And that happens to you, it happens to your neighbor, it happens to my editor, and it happens to me too. Why does this happen? I'm Dr. Borja Bandera, an endocrinology and nutrition specialist, here to help you avoid plateaus in your fat loss journey. Plateaus sometimes simply happen because your adherence to the diet decreases. This is called adherence, but other times it's due to less obvious factors. I'll explain these important topics in this video, including medications, habits, expectations, and more. Pay attention to learn why you've hit a plateau, fat loss, and most importantly, what you need to do to keep making progress, because you can always keep progressing until you reach your goal. First, what you call a plateau is the theoretical rate of fat loss. By maintaining a moderate caloric deficit of 500 calories, you should lose about 500 grams or half a kilo per week, or 2 kilograms per month. I'll repeat, in real life the number is usually lower because adherence isn't exact. It's not always 100%, I wish it were. But the truth is that in the first 4 to 6 weeks the rate of loss can be, and usually is, even higher. I'll explain what I call the honeymoon phase of fat loss in a moment. What is a plateau? It usually comes later, starting from the 3rd or 4th month, when the rate of loss slows down a lot or even stops. And here, of course, comes the frustration, the what am I doing wrong? Okay, how are we going to avoid reaching that point? Well, by following these steps. First, don't have distorted expectations. Ketogenic or low-carb diets teach us a very important lesson. You can never judge the success of a diet in the first 2 weeks. When you start cutting carbs from your diet, you lose the glycogen stored in your liver and muscles. Another thing that happens is your digestive system empties out as you remove most of the waste. These diets are very low in fiber and cause you to retain less fluid, which is then urinated out. They are diuretic diets. In fact, each gram of glycogen attracts up to 4 milliliters of water, which means that when you lose that glycogen, you'll also lose a lot of water. The result is that in the first week of a ketogenic diet, you'll lose 4 or 5 kilos and you'll be happy. Finally, my nutritionist has found the diet that works for me. I'm sorry to tell you that's not the case. What happens the following week? That number gets cut in half, and from the 3rd week on, you'll start to experience the real rate of fat loss. What you've lost up to now, about 70%, is water, glycogen, and fecal matter. Let's continue with taking medications that slow down your progress, because unfortunately it's very common that you have to take 1 or more medications for some condition. And even though most of the time medical prescriptions are justified, there are many groups of medications that make fat loss more difficult, and this is something you need to be aware of. Sometimes they're not even known by the prescriber or the specialist, so how is the patient supposed to know about them? This is the case with many psychotropic drugs, specifically atypical antidepressants like olanzapine or clozapine, which significantly alter metabolism. Also some antipsychotics and mood stabilizers like valproate. Another group of drugs that causes significant fat gain and greatly worsens glucose management are glucocorticoids, which are widely used, as well as insulin for diabetic patients. Although the truth is that if you need it, you need it. It's important that you use only the exact and necessary units of insulin, but no more, because it will worsen your metabolism, most likely. Next point, are you struggling with math? This is a basic point and a mistake that a lot of people make. A 500 calorie deficit calculated on day 1 stops being a 500 calorie deficit. Why? Because when you weigh less, your body burns less. If you don't recalculate your diet and increase your movement, you're going to slow down your weight loss, right? That's why tracking, monitoring, and nutritional adaptation are essential to keep seeing progress. Studies show that most patients underestimate what they eat and overestimate what they burn. In fact, the discrepancies between what you think you consume and what you actually consume easily exceed 20%. That's why having a professional by your side matters. If you'd like our help, share your info and we'll get started. The recommendation is to recalculate your energy expenditure at least every 6 weeks so you can adjust your nutrition and exercise plan accordingly. Next point is making a poor selection or choice of foods, and this is one of the most important points. Your diet is doomed to fail if you don't make good choices about what you eat within your food options. Not everything should be included. No, you don't have to eat everything like people always say you have to eat everything. Only what, while maintaining your health, brings you closer to your goal, in this case, fat loss. And, to sum it up, the foods you choose should satisfy you, be nutritionally dense, and you should like them enough to stick with them in the long term. If you have those 3 traits, you're on the right track. There's no point in forcing yourself to eat quinoa, kale, or amaranth toast, whatever it is, if you can't stand it for more than 4 days in a row. Let's be realistic and consistent with our decisions. Don't look for the perfect diet, look for the diet you can stick to. Increasing protein is probably the most underestimated factor when it comes to continuing to make progress in your diet. In this selection of foods, you need to choose protein-rich foods to set a protein baseline of no less than 1.2 grams per kilogram per day, a baseline that will increase. The more fat you have to lose, the higher protein diets achieve better results in fat loss. And more importantly, they help you lose less muscle. So in the long run, they protect your metabolism and do not worsen your kidney health. If you don't have any kidney problems, remember that protein provides 4 calories per gram, of which 15 to 20% is lost in food thermogenesis. That's true when they come from unprocessed foods, for example, meat instead of whey protein. What did this food thermogenesis mean? Your body spends more energy digesting, absorbing, and metabolizing protein compared to fat and carbohydrates, for example. Therefore, protein is the macronutrient that provides you with the least energy in the end, and along with fat, it's also the most satiating macronutrient. So, what's the problem? The thing is, fat provides almost 10 calories per gram and protein provides 4, right? So fat gives you more than twice as much and also helps maintain the quality and quantity of your muscle. I've told you, it's the main and central engine of your metabolism. If you want to keep making progress, you have to take care of your muscle and protein with strength training. It's the only way to do it. Another mistake is lacking a stimulating environment. The right environment can mean swimming with the current instead of against it, right? To lose fat, you have to start and maintain dozens of new decisions that cost you a lot of physical and mental energy, especially at the beginning. If your environment doesn't adopt that new behavior, it's nearly impossible to maintain those changes long term. And not because you have a moral flaw or because you're weak, lazy, or sluggish, but because that's just how we humans work. If you feel stuck, do one thing that's not in any study. Spend more time with people who 1. Are in better shape than you and 2. Eat better than you. Normalize good habits, just like you had normalized bad ones. Normalize doing good for your body, just like you had normalized doing it harm. When ordering a salad or grilled fish is an anomaly that you have to justify, that's exactly the moment you need to change your environment. And yes, this hurts, it's difficult, it's not easy at all to do, but if you don't do it, you won't be able to sustain your progress. You work out, but you don't move. It's common to think that going to the gym and training for 45 minutes a day is more than enough. Although this can bring you countless benefits, it's usually not enough. When the goal is fat loss, you lose fat in the kitchen and throughout the rest of the day, not in the gym. In the gym, you only gain health. First, when you start training hard, especially if you were previously sedentary, it's common not only to not lose weight, but actually to gain it. This is because of the opposite of what I explained in point 1. There is a gain in muscle and liver glycogen due to exercise, which will be associated with an increase in total body water and will slightly increase your weight. This effect is even stronger if you are taking creatine monohydrate. But the second reason is even more important. Your body uses energy, and if you remember, there were 4 components to that energy expenditure. What your body spends to maintain its functions at rest is called basal metabolism. What it spends to digest some foods is called the thermic effect of food. What you spend during physical exercise, at the gym, in Zumba, in CrossFit, whatever you do, and what you spend just by moving around, physical activity. This is the famous non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Well, after basal metabolism, non-exercise activity thermogenesis accounts for the highest expenditure. And you might say, Borja, I have a sedentary office job, Borja. I have to drive 8 hours a day because I'm a taxi driver. Of course. That's one of the main barriers to fat loss for many people, but in this case, you have no other choice. I'm really sorry. I mean it from the heart. There are several ways to boost energy expenditure at work or during free time, and we can discuss them in another video if you'd like. Moving more and having more non-exercise activity thermogenesis also has a very desirable side effect, a really good one. You'll be able to eat more, and you won't have to be constantly thinking about the calories you're putting in your mouth. Cutting them, this is called fat loss with a high energy flux. Remember that what you spend on physical activity is almost always more than what you spend on training. Train, but remember to move as well. Be careful though, the opposite mistake also happens. You move but don't train. It's less common, but I've seen it too. People who move a lot, whether it's because of their job, their lifestyle, their routine, whatever it may be, but they don't like to train. Training is still essential, especially strength training. Training is a catalyst for positive changes. And no, it's not the way to lose fat, I'm sorry. Most people train to lose weight, but it's a mistake to focus only on having the right weight. It will be a very long-term effect of having good habits in general, not just from training in the short term. You should see training as a source of energy that will help you move more. The previous point is a way to avoid injuries, which will prevent periods of inactivity that make you gain weight. Almost always to improve your cognitive function, which will help you make better decisions, to improve your mood, which will help you cope better. The irritability associated with fat loss. To become more sensitive to insulin, which gives you longevity, to sleep better, which will improve everything else, and so on. Do you understand when I talk about a catalyst for positive changes? That is, exercise is an element that will make everything else work much better, and your progress will be faster. But it's not the way to lose fat, okay? Got it now? A key point: compensation on the weekend. This is a concerning behavior because it's so hard to change and so normalized. Many of you are very disciplined from Monday to Thursday. You do everything right, your schedules are good, your nutrition is good, your training is good, you move well, everything is in order. But then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday come, we take off the safety brake, put on a blindfold, and act in a very different way. As a general rule, if your weekends are very different in terms of food, rest, and exercise compared to a Tuesday or Wednesday, your progress is going to be greatly affected. Stop for a moment and think, do your habits differ a lot on a Saturday compared to a Tuesday? Obviously, they're going to be different. We're human beings, social beings, we have to go out. You're going to eat something off your plan, you're going to drink something off your plan, but do they really differ that much? In other words, I'd rather you not be so strict from Monday to Thursday and not so lenient on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I prefer it that way. If you reach a middle ground that makes things easier, it's a calorie deficit, and you're patient and consistent, then you'll keep getting results, I guarantee it. If this makes you think, well, if not, life is very boring, then you need to find ways to have fun that don't compromise your health. It's tough, it's hard to do, but it can be done. Look, the difference between those who achieve it and those who don't basically lies in how they view good habits. If you see them as a punishment to escape from, almost invariably, you'll end up giving yourself that well-deserved break on the weekend. If you see it as a new behavior associated with your lifestyle, then you won't feel the need to stray too far from what's expected during the week. Also, something very nice happens, and that is that over time, if you do things right, your body will guide you down the right path. Even on vacation, even on the weekend, even when you travel for work, it doesn't matter. You'll feel satisfied when you need to feel satisfied. You won't feel like drinking a lot or staying up really late. Your body will ask you for exercise and movement. It will make things easier for you. Habits attract good habits, but give yourself time. Overactivated stress axis. Glucocorticoid hormones are called that for a reason. Glucocorticoids. They are stress hormones like cortisol, whose main job is to supply your cells with energy in the form of glucose. Because something is happening, there's a threat, we detect a threat, they are emergency hormones. Cortisol is produced in your adrenal glands, which are small glands located above your kidneys, in response to two other hormones that are produced respectively in the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, which are corticotropin-releasing hormone and adrenocorticotropic hormone. Well, this hormonal axis, formed by that hormonal trio, is known as the hypothalamic-pituitary-adrenal axis. Hypothalamic, pituitary, another way to refer to the pituitary gland, and adrenal, another way to refer to the adrenal gland. We doctors are very complicated. The problem is that when this axis is activated chronically, like when we are under chronic stress or have a nervous system, the dark reaction of Yidedian at Holashunan, times 7 seconds of progress. If would we have that gaining muscle mass is easy and losing it is easy. And also, if you tend to accumulate more visceral fat, if you want to eliminate abdominal fat, both subcutaneous and visceral, the first step is to have your stress levels under control. That's why I made this video where I explain how to solve this problem first before you start with everything else. I recommend watching it. It has been very successful because it's really a problem that you feel is your own, right? Is that so? And we'll finish with micronutrient deficiency. Look, in this study, possible micronutrient deficiencies were evaluated in 104 obese subjects. With a basic diet rich in energy but poor in nutrients, it was found that there were deficiencies in vitamin D, C, iron, and selenium. But even after 3 months of providing a subgroup of the study with foods enriched with vitamins and minerals, they were not able to improve those deficiencies at the end of the study. This is explained by an increased demand for these micronutrients. When our metabolism it applies to a utopian scenario that isn't real. We have scientific evidence right in front of us that proves it. The solution is usually not to stuff yourself with multivitamins, but to improve the nutritional density of your diet by eating more real food and fewer processed products, also checking if there is any deficiency and supplementing if that's the case. Additionally, this issue becomes even more pronounced if you're using glucagon-like peptide, one receptor analog, so be very careful. Today we've looked at up to 10 reasons why you're not losing more fat and their possible solutions, which aren't always simple. If this video has helped you or could help someone you know, I appreciate you sharing it. Remember, if you want us to help you with a personalized endocrinology, nutrition, and training plan, leave your information here and we'll get in touch with you. Alright then, a big hug, I'll see you in the next video, and let's keep empowering.